Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Renew Show, where we hope to give you real knowledge for your journey. I'm one of your hosts, Khalif Crumbly, Fat Guy Skinny Wallet, and I just want to thank you all for tuning in. And before we go to our guests, the other hosts want to say hello to you as well.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We have a great show ahead, and I'm super excited.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in tonight. It's going to be an exciting show. One of my favorite people in the world is here as one of our guests. So let's get ready and just have an awesome time tonight.
Well, thank you, guys. And Rob already stole part of what I was going to say. Brooke is also one of my favorite people in the world. She's definitely an awesome woman, and I'm glad that she wanted to do the show. She was one of the first Fat Guys Fitness faves. I've been following her for a very long time, well, at least in YouTube time. It's been almost a year. So I'm just really excited to have her here. Even though her name is Crazy Running Mom, her channel is about more than just running. She's very motivational. She's very supportive. And two other things I love about her is she's very real and honest, and she's very funny. So just help me in welcoming our guest, Brooke LaGrasso. I was worried I was going to say that wrong. Whose channel is Crazy Running Mom. Thank you, Brooke, so much for coming on the show.
Thank you. I'm really, really, truly excited. Like I put on, you guys can't see it, but I'm wearing high heels. Like that's how excited I am to be on the show.
So you're what, 6'4"?
Yeah, I'm like roughly 6'4" right now, yes. I could be 6'6", but I chose 6'4".
All right, well, in case there are some people out there who don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself, not the weight loss stuff, just about you personally.
I'm 31. I have 2 boys. I was born and raised in Detroit, and then went to school there and grew up there, and like a lot of Detroiters, couldn't find work there, so I left to Las Vegas, where I was a teacher for many years. And during that time, we bought our first home. Our son was born. We had all these exciting events. And through that time, I was a thin person. I was a thin child, a thin adolescent, a thin young adult. It was just never something that I had a lot of other problems, but that just wasn't one of them. And then Harry was born, and everything changed. He was born at 25 weeks. And just to give you some perspective of how early that is, he was due the 3rd week of February, and he was born November 14th. So he was born, like, as we would say on the West Coast, hella early. He weighed 1 pound, 8 ounces, and it was the most gut-wrenching, I can't even put it into words. I feel like my DNA is different, having been through that experience with my husband. There was, I think he was always sick. It was just one thing after another, after another, after another. But there were 3 very distinct times where the doctors very seriously told us, you know, this is about as bad as it gets. You need to prepare yourself. And to have to go home and go to bed after that, to sleep with your phone by your bed for 5 months because you're afraid the doctors are going to call and tell you that your son is dead is just, it's awful. I don't know. It's awesome. It was terrible. And so through that time, I used food to get me through. I probably would have chosen other paths to sort of numb myself, but I was a mother and I was breastfeeding, and so food was a very safe option. And within 1 year, I gained 100 pounds. And I was suddenly in this body I didn't recognize. I couldn't tie my shoes properly. I couldn't wear clothing that I wanted to. I couldn't walk the way I wanted to. I used to go to the gym when I was in college, and now suddenly, I mean, I couldn't even, I would search and search and search for the parking spot that was the closest. And when he turned 1 year old, which is the kind of, when you have a micro preemie, which is as they call it, excuse me, that's when you can sort of, you're out of the woods. And I had been waiting to exhale, and I exhaled. and I was at this party. There was the nurse from the NICU, friends, family, this just wonderful feeling. But I was not myself. I was not the complete person that I knew. I was somebody else. I was a full-on binge eater. I thought that I was a monster. I thought that no one did what I did. And I had that was the worst part. Feeling alone. Like what I did was just this complete crazy thing that no one else on earth can understand. My husband, my best friends, nobody knew. They certainly knew I was getting bigger, but I got a pass for a long time. And I got worse and worse and worse as time went on. And over the next 6 years, on top of it, I became a chronic dieter who would lose 50 pounds in 2 months. And I wasn't anorexic or bulimic, but I would use extreme diets and use them to the fullest extent that was possible. And I would drop weight like that. And then, of course, what goes down must come up. And it was I don't think, I look at my timeline from Facebook. I was looking at it kind of thinking about this interview and looking at my face go from woo, 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 woo. I mean, it's just dizzying. So when we left Las Vegas, I really felt like, here's this fresh start. We're leaving Las Vegas. We're going to move to Ohio. My husband's going to law school. I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom. I'm going to have some reprieve from this high-stress job, this dangerous job. And it's not that simple. It's never that simple. Lucky for me, I discovered running in that time. And I think running kind of was a catalyst for change in my life and helped to move me forward. But running can only do so much. I still struggle with binge eating, and it's still a whole situation in my life that an hour doesn't go by in my day where I don't think about it. So. And then I'm on YouTube. And here I am, talking to fun people.
This is like the high point right now, right?
Yeah.
So you said a little bit that you received a pass, at least in the first year. Was there a time, at least during that time or after that, where your friends and family, would say things to you or did their own sort of interventions or anything like that?
I think people are always very kind. My husband is I have the best husband in the world, and he was always very kind. My sisters, who are my best friends, I have 2 sisters, were always very kind to me. But they knew that when my weight was going up and down like that, I think it really scared them, especially my youngest sister, Stephanie. It really scared her. And so they would try and say things and try and be supportive, but unless you're really a professional, what words do you say to somebody who's that entrenched in that kind of lifestyle? But no one was ever mean to me or made me feel embarrassed, in my family at least, in my family.
So what made you decide to get on YouTube and start doing...
I wish I had started earlier, because I didn't start until after I had completed my second marathon, which is a real shame. I wish I had documented, more of my experience. I didn't know that this existed at all. I was YouTubing some kind of question I had about something, and a channel came up, and I really liked what I saw, so I subscribed to it, and I'm watching this person's channel. It was CC Runner, if any runner person knows who CC Runner is. And I thought, well, maybe I could do this from like a mom perspective, from someone who's fat. And I say fat in a very loving and endearing way. It's okay. And I'm talking about myself. I'm not talking about anyone else. I'm talking about me. I'm fat. I thought that it would be kind of a cool perspective to do it from. I wish I had started sooner, though. I really did. It was a very cathartic, and it is a very cathartic way of dealing with this. I don't think I would be where I am today if I wasn't on YouTube.
Now, one last question. I don't want to like hog everything, but you are 6 feet tall, at least. So, I mean, you obviously carry your weight different than someone like me who is 5'6" on my best day. So, I mean, did you find that easier being taller and it not being so easy for people to tell that you were overweight, especially people who didn't know you when you were?
Oh, that's a good question. Because, yeah, I do carry my weight differently. And I hear all the time from people, like in my running group, I tell them how much I weigh, and, just so they can keep me on track for the races that we're doing. And everyone's always very surprised by what I weigh. But I carry so much weight in my face. I carry a lot of weight in my neck and in my face. And I carry my weight like a man does. I carry it in my face and I carry it in my middle. So sometimes it is harder to hide. I have a lot. I just wish my face wasn't so darn big. Then I would feel better about that. I feel like my face is so big. But it is true. Being taller, you do get away with a little bit more. But in turn, you let yourself get away with a lot more. I'll be 230, 240 pounds and be like, I look good. I look good. You know what I mean? But I don't, and I'm unhealthy. So, and it's harder to lose sizes as well, because to lose an inch requires you to lose more circumference of yourself. So it does take longer to drop sizes and that type of thing.
Julie, did you have a question?
I did.
Go ahead. I'll go ahead.
This is about running, of course. You guys know that Brooke has played a huge role in my my love for running, and I honestly don't know that I would still be running if it wasn't for her. So thank you, Brooke. But I just wanted to know, I was talking to Khalif earlier today about this. When I started running, it was like an immediate love. I loved it. So I immediately jumped right into it and started running all the time. Was it like that for you? Was it a slow thing? Did you know right away that this was something you were going to love?
I was very resistant to it. My sister, I said I had 2 sisters. The one that lives in San Diego knew I was in a tough spot because I was transitioning from being a working mom to a stay-at-home mom, from Las Vegas to Ohio. I mean, whoa, big difference. And I was sitting on the park bench as a good mom, smoking cigarettes while my son played in the park. I was smoking Newports too, which I feel like is even worse. And my sister's telling me do couch to 10K, and I'm like, are you insane? You're skinny. Of course 10K is easy. I finally did it. I finally did it very reluctantly, and I had hated running when I've ever tried it in my life. I wanted to just blow my brains out. I hated it. But this experience and running slow and really allowing myself to enjoy it, I knew from the first day that I loved it, and I couldn't imagine my life without it. It's a part of who I am. Big part of who I am. So I'm glad that you enjoy it the same way, Julie.
I know that you said one of your next goals for running is to complete your marathon on, I think it's April 28th, in under 5 hours. Because I'm not a runner and I don't understand or know these records, do you know by chance, and if you don't, that's fine, what the best record is for a woman and a man in completing a marathon?
Women in the Olympic arena tend to finish in the 2:20s. What is the 2:19, 2:17? I can't think of it now, but something like that. It's around that area. So I have a ways to go. The average finish time for a female, and an average finish time as a whole, is around 4 hours and 30 minutes. That's a pretty solid average time. So I'm not quite there yet, but I will be soon.
Cool.
Okay, so since Julie brought up running and this love of running, two things. What was so different? I know you mentioned just being able to take it slow because you had this this training program. But was there anything else that made you love it this time where all the other times in the past you hated it? And what advice would you have to anyone, especially someone like me, who runs but hates it?
Well, my first advice is always to go slow, and to go slower than you think you should go. Really go slow to where if I was running next to you, you and I could have a full, complete conversation. When I'm on my long runs with my training partners, we talk just like I'm talking to you. So having that ability to run and be very easy about it is you notice the nature, you just can have your thoughts, you listen to your music. It's a lot easier on your body, but just mentally it creates really positive feelings about running. And my next advice, and Khalid, you're not going to like it, and nobody ever likes this advice, is don't have a GPS with you. Leave your phone, leave your GPS, leave your watch, leave all of that. If you've been running, like Jules just got this new watch and she's timing herself, she's training for a race, she's been running for months and months and months. That's a different story. But if you're really trying to rekindle that love of running, where you're brand new, don't bring a watch, don't bring a GPS. All it will do is just set you up to think, I need to beat this time. Oh, last week I wasn't as good as this. Oh, last week I have to be faster. And it just makes you feel like this panic. Like every time you run, you should PR. And oh my gosh, if I ran like that, every time I run I have to PR, I would hate running in a hurry. I would really hate running in a hurry. So leave it at home. If you really want to know the distance you're running, which is great, know the distance. The distance is important. Don't worry about pace. Worry about distance. Then use mapmyrun.com. Drive your route with your car. I've done that before. Don't worry about how fast you're going. Just don't. Block it out of your head. It's not important. It's so not important, and you'll like running a lot better. But you wouldn't like that because you like your gadgets.
Yes, I do. And I also thought you were going to say join a running group, so I'm glad you didn't put that.
Well, I say joining running a club is nice, but it's not essential. If you're a social person, it is a very nice, very, very nice thing to do. I love my running club. I can't imagine training by myself. I never would have run a marathon if I wasn't in a running club.
For people that aren't runners that may want to get into joining a club, maybe you could just let people know how you found yours, or maybe where they could research that. If they have no clue where they would go to find this running group, like where could someone find something like that?
Okay. Well, a lot of people do Couch to 5K or Couch to 10K. That seems to be the pretty typical way of getting started. And that's a good way of getting started, so long as you don't bring a GPS and you're very gentle with yourself and you're very easy with yourself. Once you can run 3 continuous miles, most running clubs have a place for you. So if you, for me, I just Googled out of the blue Columbus Running Club, and then Columbus East Side Running Club came up, and I clicked on it, and the season was just about to start, and it said 3 miles was the minimum run, and then in 20 weeks I'd be able to run a half marathon. And I thought, okay, and I paid the $75 and I joined. And when you join a running club, you do have access to a certified running coach. You have access to runners who are way more experienced than you, who can tell you, well, what are you doing? Or you can ask them questions. They're always so nice and knowledgeable. So it is nice to have someone there to kind of help scoop you up when you're making a lot of dumb beginner mistakes that we all make. I think they're great.
Thank you.
I also, when I went to go get fitted for my running shoes, there are people, I'm sure they could tell me about some running clubs in the area if I wanted to. They had running groups that run just for fun, and it's free, so many days at the running store, but I'm sure they know clubs too that run.
They're great.
Okay, now we have some questions. One from Crazy Karad 14, who always asks great questions. Brooke, do or did you seek therapy for your binge eating or other mental health problems?
Yes, I did. I have received a lot of therapy for lots of different issues that I've struggled with throughout my life. So yes, I have.
Okay. Oh, and by the way, Tina says your face is beautiful.
Aw, I'll tell her that her face is beautiful, I'm sure. Well, she can see me, Tina. What am I talking about? Hi, Tina.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Khalif.
I was just going to ask another one. Rima Walk asked, did the running come before the weight loss, or did you start running after you lost some weight?
Before. When I started running, I was 253 pounds. And I lost about 30 pounds purely based on running. And that was while I was continuing to binge eat at the same time. So I really didn't get, the previous, I forget who it was who had asked a question about therapy. I have, I had tools and all of these things, but that doesn't mean that they always work. Just like a drug addict often relapses 1,000 times. I had the tools and I was running, which was great, but this whole binging thing, they're separate. I can't properly express how separate they are in my life. They are two totally different entities of my life.
Do you find it, I was thinking, and I think we've talked about this before, but just for everyone else, after you run these long runs, because you're running, especially on Saturdays, you're running really long, or Sundays, really long runs. And it would be really easy to come home, justify just eating as much as you can. And, I mean, does that, sometimes after a long run, does that trigger like a binge?
It has in the past. Well, the tricky part is of like where I am right now in marathon training is I do burn like 4,000 calories a run when I go out. And I can't neglect replacing them somehow. I have to eat. So that's usually the night that we order takeout or treat ourselves. But I do still have that voice in my head. I'm full. I'm satisfied. But I have that voice in my head that's like, girl, you have 3,000 more calories to go. Just eat whatever you want. So it is definitely something that I still struggle with for sure.
Okay, and Angie, Dogster73, she asked, would you recommend Couch to 5K for a beginner? Would you recommend it outdoors or on a treadmill?
Outdoors. 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 I think I don't know about everybody. I mean, I know I have lots of dear friends that run on a treadmill and they love it. But for me, I think part of being fat and part of being running and a runner is owning it and going outside and telling the world that I'm big and I'm going to run and screw you. That's what I think, because none of us has ever earned anything fantastic by giving a shit about what people think. So if that's your reason, I don't know if that's your reason, but don't be afraid to go outside. If people are afraid about their knees and their health and, it being easier on a treadmill, run slow. You'll be okay. Just run really slow.
Several people have asked what your personal record is.
Oh, for different races?
Yeah, they didn't specify, so.
For a 5K, I hate 5Ks. I hit 28 minutes, and I was like, deuces, and I haven't run a 5K in over a year. So I suppose I could probably do better, but I have no interest in running that kind of race. For a 10K, my PR right now is 104, but during our break, like in May, I'm hoping to get under an hour. That's my goal. My half marathon PR is 2:10, which I'm hoping to get under 2 hours this year. That's one of my goals, but right now it's 2:10. And my marathon time, I've only won one, so is 5:47, which is very, very slow. I know, but I'm very much on par to get under 5 hours right now. So we'll see. Subscribe, and you'll see in a few weeks what I'm able to do.
Okay, and Sherry Ann, who I thought was sleeping, asked, are the people in your running club various shapes and sizes? And does this affect you at all, positively or negatively?
Absolutely. I mean, there is a, the faster, the gazelles, as I call them, the faster someone becomes, the thinner and thinner they become. But there's all sorts of people in the middle, too. There's people who are heavier. There's people who are shorter. There's people who are taller. There's all different types of body types, for sure. For sure. And everyone is successful. Everyone finishes the race that they set out to race. Unless you get hurt.
Okay, now I have a question that's not, well, it's sort of a piggyback to what Julie asked, because I think you and I have talked about this in comments of certain videos. Just about the idea of feeling like you've earned a binge or earned a day or two of eating horribly because you have done so well physically in a run or a workout. So what do you do to overcome that? What do you do to tell yourself, yeah, I know I burned 4,000 calories, but I'm not going to throw it all away by eating 4,000 and getting back to square one?
It's amazing. You feel like when I remember when I walked my first 5K, I finished and I got a medal and I felt like I had won the whole thing. It's just this feeling that you get when you're surrounded.
I run 20 miles on Saturday, and I can't express how difficult it's going to be for me to come home and not be like, hey, Ben, we can order pizza, that's fine. But I'll order pizza, and then throughout the day I'm eating, and it's something that's, on one hand, I'm very physically hungry. So that's something in my head that I really, like the Janine Roth sphere of my head needs to figure out, because if I'm truly hungry, I should eat. If I'm not hungry, I should not eat. It's as simple as that, obviously, but my head has all these different sort of emotions, and it's like my get out of jail free card. So it's something I struggle with every weekend, for sure.
Docstress, which is Angie, is asking, where did you learn to cook? Your meals make me salivate when I see the pictures of them on Twitter.
Aw, thanks. She cooks good stuff too. Where did I learn to cook? I guess a self-taught cook. I love food. I get lots of cooking magazines, and I love lots of cooking shows, and I just love food, and I love fat, and I love butter, and I love pasta, and I love vegetables, and I love fruit, and I'm a real lover of food, a real lover of food. I always have been, not just like fat me, but like all sizes of me. I love food.
It also looks like LJB415 Able Lisa asked, what would you recommend for someone who is top heavy for the girls? What are good supportive garments? She's really having a problem finding them.
Okay, you're not going to find them in the store. You need to go online. Athletica, I think it's like ATHTCA, Athletica. Oh my goodness. If you send me a message, then I'll make sure and send you some links to some good places to get sports bra, because I'm a big girl. And you can't just like go to Target and be like, oh, look at this little thing, and like put it on. I mean, because you're going to be like all sorts of nasty business when you're running. You'll knock yourself out. So you need to they're expensive. You have to expend $70 to $90, and I know that kind of freaks a lot of people out, but if you buy one and hand wash it, you're okay. And it really makes a big difference. You really, really can't go buy that champion wear and expect it to work, because it's not going to. Even if you wear if you're wearing 2 sports bras, shame on you. Everybody, you need to get a good one. You'll be very happy.
Okay, now another question from Cat1126 asks, do you think walking is as good an exercise as running?
I think whatever exercise makes you happy is as good as running. It just happens to be the exercise that I love. I love, love, love to run. And I love to compete, and I love to race, and I love to do anything that makes me better at it. I work extremely hard to be a better runner. But if you know, lots of people like CrossFit and Insanity and walking and all sorts of different things. If you love it, good for you. Then go for it.
I was going to ask, I know that your husband runs with you.
No,
sometimes.
He's faster than me. He doesn't run with me.
Well, he runs. And my question is, do you guys ever run together and run races?
No, he's way too fast than me. He just ran a 10K over the weekend and finished in 40 minutes. So.
Did he inspire you to start running?
No. Like, my husband's very, I think I inspired him to start racing because he's a very, like, sporadic runner, which is sickening. Which is, like, really makes me want to vomit. Because, like, he'll be like, oh, I think I'm going to run a little. And then he's, like, way fast. He was a boxer, so I think it kind of comes from that. But I don't know. I wonder if he wasn't a runner, if I would still be running. I think him being supportive of my running and understanding the commitment and the time and the money and the stress and the yammering about my numbers, I think he understands that. So I'm pretty crazy.
Diane Rawgirl asked, without the gadgets, as you said, do you strive for 10,000 steps per day or a certain amount of miles per day?
I do use a watch at this point. I think after you get over like 4 months, I think or so of running or whatever it is you're up to, I think that it's fine to start using them because there'd be no way for me to compete if I didn't use them. I do have a Fitbit. It's on retirement right now, but I think it's when it's going to be useful for me is when the marathon's over. Because right now I know that I'm getting a lot of steps and I'm fine. But that 6 weeks I have off, I want to make sure that I'm staying active throughout that. So, yeah, I think so. Yeah. But use a Fitbit. I think they're great.
We have a question from Zen Maiden. Brooke, what do you feel holds you back the most, or is your biggest stumbling block to your weight loss, and what are you doing to change it?
I think my biggest stumbling block to my weight loss is to give myself a pass to fall back into those habits. It's very easy for me to say, oh, but Brooke, you had such a rough day. Boom, I'm at a fast food restaurant. I mean, it doesn't take anything. I mean, the leaves could turn, and I'm like, okay. So I really struggle to that split razor sharp second you are given before you go and binge. I mean, it is, for me at least, it is thin, thin, thin. If I don't take that opportunity to visualize what I'm going to feel 2 hours from then, or visualize what my runs are going to feel like for the whole week, or how emotionally I'm going to feel, I have to take that second or it's on, man. It's on. So finding that moment and harnessing it and using it is my biggest struggle because it's so fleeting. So I'm working. Sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't.
I did have a question. When you handed in your application, you had said on there what made you realize you needed to get healthy was that you were 30 years old, smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day, your bipolar was way out of control, and you could hardly walk a quarter of a mile to the park where you chain smoked while the kids were doing that. Now you have came so far from that, and that is amazing. My question is, how long have you been smoke-free?
I haven't smoked since I started Couch to 10K.
Awesome.
So I started running in June of whatever year that was, 2 years ago.
We're back on.
I should cue up my phone.
Sorry about that, everyone.
Sorry, guys.
Wow, okay.
Do you want me to show you those pictures? Is it on?
Yeah.
Okay,
I think
cool.
Yep, we're
Okay.
back on.
Okay, I'll show you the pictures of. That was me when I was. This is not me after I had a baby. This is me bringing Harry home from the hospital when I was postpartum 6 months. So that was me getting pretty close to my highest weight. See, it's all in my face. And I'm wearing a Michigan sweatshirt.
Oh, that sweatshirt is ridiculous.
I love it. I love it.
This is my like Vogue French model, like being silly pose. Can you guys see it? Or should I turn it the other way? Like
You
that.
can see it.
Okay. So that's now.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Well, since we're showing pictures, I want to take a second and show you guys what I got in the mail, okay? Because I told people on my channel I was going to do this. I've gotten to know Brooke's boys a little bit and stuff, and Harry's drawn me a picture, and it motivates me every day, and I absolutely love it. It's a picture of a monster, and it's on purple paper. But I got in the mail, Cam drew me this car, so that's a car that I got from Cam, which is absolutely amazing. And then I got another monster from Harry, so here's a monster. And all these pictures will go up on my wall at work in my office. And then I actually got a paper monster. And this is from Harry also. So this is just really, really amazing. And Brooke, these mean a lot to me, and they motivate me every day. And please tell the boys I said thank you. And it's just wonderful. Thank you so much.
I sure will. I sure will. He loves making those monsters. It's pretty much his world right now. He's autistic, for all of you guys that don't know. And so making those monsters is like, it's everything to him. He has names for them. I mean, it's literally all he talks about. So I really enjoyed making it for you. I'm glad you like it.
Thank you.
We have a question from Rima Walk. Since I have no running store in my area, what should I look for in a running shoe? Any particular brand you recommend?
That's tough if you don't have a running store in your area. I guess I take it for granted that I live in a city and they're always around. The thing about finding a running shoe, it's not so much about the brand as it is what kind of runner you are. If you run, you can go online and find little shoe fitters, like where you put in your parameters. Man, it's hard. I would try going online and seeing if there's any. There's got to be companies online that if you video yourself running, they can analyze what you're doing, and they could probably recommend some shoes for you, because it's really impossible. I had no idea that I pronated because I hadn't for a long time, and then they told me I was, and I thought, oh, okay, I was going to buy the same shoe. So you really do need someone to watch you running. So they got to have that stuff online. I don't know for sure, but I would look.
Or take a day and drive. It's worth it.
Drive. Make a road trip out of
Seriously.
it. It's really important. Buy a few of the shoes that they offer if you can afford it, because, or at least and you can order them online. But you got to go. You got to go. Somehow.
Okay, so Sherry Ann wants to know, and I partly already know the answer to this, have injuries been a big issue for you?
Yes. I've had some silly injuries. I think some of them were due to I was heavier, and it just comes with the territory. It was nothing earth-shattering or horrible. I had IT band injuries, which is a band that goes from your hip down to your knee, and it's a tendon, and it became very inflamed. So while it was very painful, it was nothing serious. It was something I could rest in ice, and everything was. I had to strengthen my hips, but it was okay. Now, clumsy me, this has nothing to do with running. It just has to do with me being Brooke, because I fell down when I was running on my vacation in Hawaii and broke my arm. And it was about 3 weeks before my first marathon. So, yeah, that was awesome. Some things that I'm chronically prone to are very tight calves. So I wear compression sleeves, and that helps. I get a lot of tendinitis, which is just like inflammation of your tendons around my ankles. But I haven't had anything crazy, like any surgeries needed or anything nuts like that. No, I've stayed out of that.
Diane, Raw Girl, says, I heard the word bipolar. Brooke, you said you answer anything. Is the bipolar under control with medication?
Yes, it is. I have bipolar 1, so it's pretty serious what I have. And yes, I take a very large amount of medications. I see my psychiatrist once a month, where my medications are monitored through blood tests and then through talking to the doctor. It's something I'll have to do for the rest of my life. So, yeah. So if I ever go off my medications, I doubt you guys will see me. So if you don't see me for a while, something's real wrong. I took off. So, yeah.
She did a great video about that on her channel, and it's very informative.
And I was going to say the same thing, Julie, because I didn't want people to think that we brought that topic up and it was taboo and we weren't allowed to talk about it. We specifically asked Brooke if everything was okay to talk about. This is a topic, the bipolar, that she has talked about on her channel. So I want to make sure everybody understands we were not being insensitive when I brought that up. It was something that Brooke was more than willing to talk about with the community, because she has talked about it on her channel.
For sure.
There is another question from Nadora Deb, it looks like, and she just was asking how old your kids are. Like, what's the age difference?
Oh, sure. Harry, my oldest, is 6, and my youngest is 3, Cameron.
Okay, and CKR Tom 2, Mark, he wants to know what did you teach, and do you think that you may do it again in the future?
My job was kind of unique. I taught special education, and they were emotionally disturbed. But they were 19, 20, 21. I mean, they were grown. And the only reason they had to come was because they were on probation or parole. I loved my job. They were my guys. I call them my guys. A lot of them are my friends on Facebook, and they let me know what they're up to and what they're doing. Some of them were extremely dangerous people, but for the most, I mean, they've done horrible things, but I loved them so much. I loved them so much. I remember when I was pregnant with Cameron, they would bring me food. They would go out to McDonald's and bring me back lunch. I mean, you know, at the time I was like, okay, but thanks. And I just, my students weren't as dangerous because I had such a close and loving relationship with them, but there were a lot of students who were mentally ill and had schizophrenia and all, you know, other types of severe mental illness. And one time I was choked when I was like 5 months pregnant. And all these guys, we were at a loading dock, and all these guys just kind of stood around and watched me being choked. And then one of my other students came like running out the doors and like pulled him off me, Kevin Brown, Kevin with a C. Fortunately, he's incarcerated right now for grand larceny, but I loved them. Do I think I could go back to that job? No, in that job specifically, because it really took a lot of energy out of me to care so much about their lives and what they were doing. They all had my phone number. They could call me anytime, day or night. So if they were involved in some kind of problem, I would, you know, to a certain extent, would try and help them. And it was when one of them came to school with this story that his buddy got his head blown off in their car, and they had to just throw him off at UMC front steps and drive away. And he wasn't sure if he was alive or dead or not, and wanted to watch the news on my phone. And that was every day. Not every day like that, but it was too much for my little brain. It was too much. It was too much for me. So I'm happy with them on Facebook and just talking to them that way.
We have a question from, we've been saying Crazy Kara, but it's Crazy Kara D. She corrected us. So we'll say it right now. Crazy Kara D. Brooke, how do you keep aware, or how do you stay mindful to make the choice in those few seconds that you have before a binge?
When I've been successful, man, I've come close. I've been so much as being at the drive-thru and having to go through and order nothing. What's helped for me, truly, the best thing is thinking about how I'm going to feel when I have to run. Like, oh, Brooke, you're having this really hard speed run tonight. Girl, you're not going to be able to do it. You're not going to be able to do it. Just go. Just go. It's not going to solve your problems. It's not going to solve your problems. And I start, like, I'm almost frantic. Like, it's not going to solve your problems. It's not going to solve your problems. And like, I speed away like a bat out of hell. It's very hard. I wish I knew a trick or a tip or something that, like, worked best for me, but I'm just so infantile at it, and I'm just sort of trying to find my way.
All right. When you completed the application, one of the things that you said as a regret was that you wished that you had been a better listener in regards to your journey. What are some of the things that you think you have learned from watching the journeys of other people?
Well, I learned that, I learned that there is something to take away from everyone's journey. And usually there's a lot of positive. Like, I really admire all of you guys, and there's a lot of things to admire here, obviously. There's a lot of things to admire out there. And the videos I do watch where I know that some people are struggling and having a hard time seeing what maybe is going on or what their behavior is doing, or just different. It reminds me of maybe where I was, and I have a lot more compassion for being in that place. So I think it's just, there's a place for reflection at all levels on YouTube in terms of weight loss stuff.
We have had a couple questions come in regarding the binge eating disorder.
Sure.
Just like, what types of therapy do you use for the binge eating? And that's hard. I know that's hard to answer, even for myself, and we have talked about that. But do you have any advice, or what kind of therapy do you use?
Therapy? Well, I've mentioned it to my psychiatrist, and I've talked about it with my psychiatrist, and I'm not an expert in binge eating disorders, but, you know, that I do have an eating disorder, but he doesn't want, you know, that's not his expertise. He talks about it with me some, but compared to my past behavior, he's sort of the opinion, well, it's better than dying. And so he doesn't really have a lot of the tools, I don't think, to talk to me about it. I did go to therapy when I was in Las Vegas. Granted, it was 3 years ago, and I worked with a wonderful therapist who did like therapy where you would close your eyes and you would vision what you didn't want, and you would envision it burning up or blowing away or washing away in the water, any memories or any types of things that kind of just stuck in your brain. And I do use those techniques, but I feel like I'm a little bit rusty at them, so I probably could use some brushing up. But yeah, I've been in a lot of therapy. Like, I'm hella crazy. So, you know, I've had a little bit of everything.
Prairie Princess 1, Tina, would like to ask, along with running, what other forms of exercise or working out do you do?
Sure. I love swimming, and I never thought I would be a swimmer. I can tread water, but that was it. I mean, and I wasn't even good at that. I mean, it was really, I did not like the water. But Nick Ramsey, and I know a lot of running folks will know who he is. He does a lot of videos and swimming and triathlete kind of things. And he recommended Total Immersion. It was a DVD that I bought, and it just was very basic and went through the very basic steps of learning how to swim. And believe me, I am not like gifted in this area at all, but it taught me how to swim. And so now I swim at my Y twice a week for about half an hour, 45 minutes, and I love it.
And when you were standing at the Y one time talking about getting ready to go swimming, she was standing by a dock, and behind her was this, I'm not saying this to be mean, but this filthy pond. And the only thing I could think is, oh my God, she's going to get in that water. Her hair is going to be filthy. Because I thought that's what you were going to do, but you were swimming inside, but that water was right behind you. So it was
I'm so tempted now when the summer comes to actually be like, hey, Rob!
Yeah.
Jumping in.
That was the best. I'll never forget that.
Here's a good... Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. I just wanted to let Brooke know that I'm not going to put her on the spot regarding the weight training and the body weight exercises and all the things that she's been promising me for months, even though I have her right here, or I can ask her. So, Julie, we'll move on with your question.
Okay.
It's coming, Khalif.
Question from Zen Maiden. Do you follow a specific food plan along with your running or exercise that you do for your daily life? What do you eat?
It's something I've always struggled with, Zen. It's like, I've thought about paleo. I'm going to talk to Tina about it tomorrow. But, you know, it's always like, for me, this pursuit of a better way to eat. That Weight Watchers is better. No, vegan is better. And no, this is better. And it's always been this cycle of looking for something that's better. So right now, and I haven't been the best at it, is counting calories on Lose It. And I got to be honest, I loved it when it started, but I hate it now. I really do. I want to find something that I love as much as running. And unfortunately for me, it's just like eating a lot of food. It's very, very stressful. The pursuit of finding what's just right and eating in moderation is probably the wisest thing for me. But I don't eat in moderation all the time. How do I detect that? By writing down my food, by listening to my hunger, by going it the lose it way, or going it the Janine Roth way. Seriously.
You've tried a lot of different things. I remember when you were trying mindful eating, you were doing mindful eating, and then the tracking was working. And I mean, if you're like me, you get bored. I get bored easily with food. And you know, I think I can't imagine finding a way of eating that I love as much as running other than eating everything that I want to eat. But you let me know if you find something.
It's hard, man. It's hard. It's really hard. It's like I'm very jumbled up in my mind at this very moment. It's very, very stressful for me right now.
Crazy Kara D asks, totally off topic, but Brooke, your makeup always looks great. You have such a great style. Where did it come from? And before you answer that, you guys have to go check out Brooke's channel, because I think it was a day or two ago, she did this video and she had on like this farmer shirt, and her makeup was all done, and she looked absolutely amazing, and I watched it like 3 times in a row. And, oh, go on, girl!
Thank you. I love makeup. I wear mostly Urban Decay makeup. It's, you know, like self-taught and stuff like that. And well, one of my very good friends is a drag queen, so I think you learn your best makeup tips from a drag queen. So the blending and all that. But I don't know, my sense of style. Sometimes I think my tattoos kind of dictate my sense of style. In a way, I have, you know, obviously like plugs and piercings in my face, and I have neck tattoos, which is kind of hard to ignore. I think that when I'm thinner, I hope that my style is a little bit more like I envisioned. I would like to wear more dresses and have a little bit more of like a 50s rockabilly style, which I think that, you know, hopefully will evolve. So stay with me. We'll see. But thank you very much for the compliments. It was very, very nice.
Just so you know, someone, I won't mention their name, but someone out there is recommending that you try kettlebells.
I have some in my basement, believe it or not, and they're 15 pounds, and I bought them with this Jillian Michaels DVD. This is before running, and, you know, one of my many pursuits. And I was swinging it around. I don't know what the heck I was doing. So I need someone. I need someone to show me what to do. That would qualify as strength training, correct? Really? Does swimming count? Because I feel like my arms are like tired. Don't laugh. It's a question.
No, not the type of strength training that I was talking about. But
my fear with strength training, and to be quite honest, like it's gaining too much, is it's going to be too much muscle and too much holding me down. I know my legs are good. If I add any more muscle to my if I add any more muscles to my legs, then they'll be like off balance. You know what I mean? Like in the way that running needs to be. But oh my God, my mid-set, like my core, which is important, and all this other. I mean, I am like, okay, hold on. I mean, there's nothing there. It's like a baby.
Don't worry, I'll be texting and emailing you something. So
okay, well, I need to like make some kind of like commit. I don't know. I really want to do it, Khalid, because you're a friend, and I don't want to let you down, and I want to do it for myself.
I would say do what you love.
It's true.
So one more question, well, at least one question, and we might get another one in quickly. You actually asked this to us a few weeks ago when we did the show Meet the Host. How do you envision your YouTube channel during maintenance, and are you afraid of getting to your weight goal for any reasons? I know you talked recently about the 200-pound mark and how that was a difficult place for you. How do you feel about getting to your goal and being at maintenance?
I don't know where my goal is, because, you know, I said 155, and then Dylan had pointed out to me that that's ridiculous. So maybe I should be bigger. I don't know what my goal is, but when I get to my goal, it's sad to think that the weight loss community would kind of maybe, I don't want to say leave, but I think that story of progress, this is just my opinion, I don't know, we'll see what happens, but the story of progress and the story of triumph and the story of pushing is what draws people in. And so it makes me sad to think that when, I'm in a different phase and I'm just focusing on running and running and running, that I'm going to lose the relationships with the people that were, a part of my weight loss journey. That does kind of make me sad. I don't know if that's a pessimistic view. I sure hope not, because I hope that that's not how it happens. But yeah, I hope not.
All right, and are there any more questions? I think we were able to address all the questions that were asked by the audience. So, Julie or Rob, do you guys have anything that you are dying to know from Brooke?
Nope, I pretty much know a lot about her already.
How about you, Julie?
I just want to know, what's the date of your next race?
The 28th of April, and I will make a video as soon as I can, within hours of the video of the race finishing. So I won't be able to talk. I'll be a mess. April 28th, that video will go up.
Okay.
Well, we're out of time, even though Sherry Ann wants us to stay for another half hour. So I just want to thank you for coming on and being so open and candid with us, and for sharing your journey, not just running, but everything that you talked about tonight.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I really, it was very exciting. Thank you. I wore high heels. I mean, that says something.
Yeah. Brooke, I just want to say thank you, too, for coming on. I loved the conversation, the talking, and I'm going to make a video message and send it to the boys tomorrow for the pictures. I really appreciate that.
Great, thank you. They'll love it.
Thank you, Brooke, for coming, and I'll be in contact with you. You're my running coach from afar.
All right, take care, Brooke. Thanks a lot again.
Thank you so much, Khalid.
All right, so that was a great show, and I want to thank everybody out there for asking these great questions. Again, you guys always come up with such great questions. And, just thank you for tuning in, and thank you for all your support. And before we sign off officially, just want to remind you guys that next week we're going to have another sort of special show. It's just going to be the three of us, so it's going to be a question and answer. Some of the questions that we've already received, some of the things that we haven't been able to address fully, we'll talk about, and then all the questions that you guys bring. So make sure you bring a lot of questions. One thing I would recommend is that you watch the first Renew show, where we actually did sort of an introduction. So we talked a little bit about our journeys, especially things that we don't always go into in our channels. So watch that, and then come with your questions for us. So, Julie, do you have anything else do you want to add before we get off?
No, I'm really excited for next week. Check out our channels, because I know for me personally, I've made a lot of changes in the last 2 weeks. And so I'm hoping that I'll get a chance to talk about that.
Rob?
Nope, excited about next week for all the questions. I got some good questions for Khalif and Julie that I'm going to ask, and I just hope you guys bring a ton of questions for us. Nothing's off limits for me, so I'm an open book, and whatever questions you guys have, I'll be more than glad to answer, and I hope you can make it next week. That would be awesome.
Yeah, and I echo that. Nothing is off limits for me either. I try not to get myself in trouble by answering anything. So, yeah, that's it. Don't forget that you guys can email us if you need to, contact us if you have any ideas of who you want to be guests on the show. Our email address is renewshow@gmail.com. In the next 15 minutes or so, when this becomes an actual video, I'll post links to Brooke's channel and her Twitter and all the other things that she wants to share with you guys, and also post a link to the Renew Show website where you can fill out the contact form and email us there in case you forgot the email address already. All right, guys. We'll see you next week, and don't forget, we'll stick around for a little while to try to answer any questions that you're putting up while we're talking. All right. Bye, everybody. Have a good week.
Bye-bye.